So now we are going to learn about npm. So what is npm? So npm actually stands for Node Package Manager, and it actually allows you to install Node.js packages which are not available by default. For example, guys, in the previous section, we actually saw about OS module and the path module. They were by default available in Node.js, so you can easily import them. That means you don't need to download them separately. And also, we also saw here that we can create our own module and we can use it in some separate file. This is some other way. But suppose we have some module which is not created by us nor is available in Node.js by default. You actually download it separately. That means you install it from a website named as npm. Okay, so let me just first of all create a folder here, and then let me just write npm tut, and inside this let me just create a file index.js, or instead we have a command actually. So first of all, whenever you install Node.js, okay, let me just first open it in integrated terminal so that you get the correct path. So you can see inside this I am going to work. So whenever you install Node.js, you always have npm installed with this. Okay, so if I type npm flag v, so you can see that I got 10.1. that means I have npm installed. So first of all, whenever you want to download any external packages or you want to set up a Node.js backend, for example, this folder contains my Node backend, complete Node.js backend. Okay, let me just do one thing. Okay, instead of this, let me just rename. Okay, so let me just name it as my backend. Suppose my backend is here. Okay, so this would be better. So suppose this is my backend, this folder contains my backend. I'm just telling you a very good approach. So whenever you are trying to create a backend in Node.js, so suppose this is your folder name, just create an empty folder. Now here you need to write npm init. This would actually initialize a very basic directory. And what is your package name? I'm gonna name this as my backend, and then this is the version. Just hit enter. Okay, and you can see everything is fine. So now if I open my backend, you can see we have a package.json file. This file would actually contain some basic details, that is what is the name of this backend and what is the current version, what is the main file which would always start whenever you just type the node command. So I want to start the index file whenever I type the node command, so I would tell you. Then what else? After this, right now you can see we have some basic details. One more thing would be added here, that is the dependencies. What are dependencies? Dependencies are those things on which your Node.js backend is dependent on. For example, you would be using Express.js. Okay, inside Node.js we actually use Express.js, and this is not a very big thing. When merge tag Express.js is counted separately, but trust me, it's just same thing. Okay, Node.js and Express.js are same thing. Express.js is just a more easier to understand, and in very less lines you would be writing the same things which you write in Node.js, proper Node.js. Okay, so we would be using Express.js a lot instead of the core Node.js commands. Okay, so Express.js is really helpful and you use it in Node.js backend. So for example, this is the backend, right? That means we have opened the backend. So if I type npm I express, okay, so for that you need to just write it this way. So npm I means npm install. Instead of this you can also write npm install. This would also work. Then the package name. So let's look for the package first of all. So guys, if you search for express npm or npm express, you would get the official website. You can see official website npm.js. From here you can just install and see the details of the package. So if you want to use Express.js and how to actually use Express.js, so you would see some code. Later on we'll be using this, but right now if you want to get some overview, you can actually have some overview. But yeah, we would be using this practically later on. So you can see we have npm I express, that means npm install express, and you can see more details like what are the weekly downloads, is this package popular or not. So you can see, yeah, this download is fine. So you can see the package is also popular. So if I just copy this, okay, if I just copy this, now if I go here and I simply paste it here, so control V, so you can see npm I express. Once I hit this, guys, you would see a dependency named as express. Okay, so right now here I told that my main file would be index.js. That means the first file which would start would be index.js. So let me just create a file inside this named as index.js, right? I said that my main file from which I want to start is index.js. So whenever I just type the node command, it would automatically start the data written inside index.js. So for example, right now we haven't studied anything, but for example, I just copy this code and paste it here. That means I'm using some method of express.js. Just right now understand this, and whenever I call this, it would give me hello world. Okay, that means there's a very basic API with very basic API. So whenever I call this from front end, from any website or from anywhere, it would return me hello world page. You can assume this as an index.html page or HTML page as a response. Okay, this is sending some HTML data or any kind of data as a response to front end. Right now you are just calling this URL, so let me just try to run this. Okay, so when I want to run this, I can simply type node. Okay, so if you type node, what would happen? It would automatically target index.js file. Why it would target index.js file? Because in package.js we have index.js, but suppose index.js you don't have a file named as index.js, but you have some other file index xyz.js. Okay, so you actually said in package.json your main file is index.js, and here you said that index xyz. So now how you're going to start? So if it was index.js, so you don't need to write the file name, because the file name which would match with that. But suppose your file name is different, so you need to write it this way. I want to start this file directly. Okay, index xyz.js. Okay, that's it. If I hit this, so you can see that it would actually start. Okay, so it would actually start, and right now you have to you can actually print something else. That is, if your code is running, you can just say that console log server started. Okay, so that would be better. So here I've just passed a function. Whenever the server is started, I would just get this message. Okay, so I have to close this, then I have to restart this. So you can see server started. Now how to check this? So you can actually go to your browser, and guys, here you just need to search for what, since you saw that your by default port here is 3000. So you can see by default port is actually 3000, but let me just define my port. Okay, that would be better. So I'm just defining a variable named as port. Later on I'll explain everything, but just for example, I'm just defining my port as, for example, 8000. So usually it's 8000 for backends and 3000 for frontends. So I'm just defining a local port. Okay, this is local for your local PC. And now if I just say we are also going to transfer our port, actually whatever is the port. Okay, actually we have the port default. Okay, so we are just going to show our port also. Okay, that's it. So I'm just saying that my backend is running on this port. Okay, that's it. So again, if I start this, you can see my backend is running on this port. So now if I just go here and if I type localhost 8000, what would happen? So you can see that it started running, but the problem here is I am saying that you have to provide the port also. Okay, right now I haven't provided the port, so I would simply write the port, then after that I would write the function. Now it would work properly. By default it's 3000. If you don't write anything, it's localhost 3000. But yeah, now you can simply print anything. So localhost console log port 8000 is running, or anything, you can show anything. So I'm just saying that it would run on 8000, and if it runs properly, just show this message. Okay, so now if I just restart, so you can see port 8000 is running, and you can see that whenever I just load, you can see hello world is here. Okay guys, so now you can see I created a very basic page. Later on I'll explain what is this, but now you know that this is having some usage of express.js. So first you need to install express.js, and then you need to use it this way. Okay, similar to this you have a lot packages. For example, we have a package named as validator. Okay, so you can search for npm validator, and in the official website you can just search for validator. So this is a package which is actually used to check emails. Okay, so suppose from front end you are sending login details or sign up details, and that you have email. Okay, so you have to check the email, right? So here you can see we have validator.js, and here I would just copy this, and here let me just close this and let me just paste this. Okay, npm I validator. So once I install this, you would again see in package.json you have validator here. Okay guys, remember one thing, why we are always closing this then opening this. For closing we press Ctrl C and then again starting this. Whenever you make a change you have to do this. Okay, so this is very annoying, this is very annoying. So to actually skip this, that means whenever you make a change, automatically the server would be restarted, automatically things would be done. For that you actually use nodemon. Okay, so you simply need to type first of all npm I nodemon flag G. So flag G means install it globally. Install it globally. That means you don't need to install it again and again. It would be installed forever. So if I hit this, you can see that it start installing. Nodemon is a package which actually restarts your server again and again. Suppose I make a change in this line, I don't need to restart a server. That means by myself, automatically it would be restarted whenever you make a change. Okay, so that would actually save a lot of time and makes more sense, right? Why would you just make a change and would restart the server again and again if you are having a very big project and you're not sure what were the changes and things like that, and you forgot to restart the server on your own? So this would actually cause some problems. That's why nodemon is very great tool and you'd be using it for restarting the server. Okay, so you can see that this is it. And now if I just type nodemon and then the file name, so index xyz.js. so if your file name matches with this, that means if your file is index.js, and again your main also contains index.js, so you don't need to write the file name. So suppose let me just fix the file name. So right now, if I make the file name as index.js, that's it. So I'm just saying that this is my main file, and whenever I type nodemon or node, target this file. Okay, so now if I type nodemon, so you can see automatically it would be started. Whenever you make a change, for example you make a change here, you made a change here, again it got restarted. Okay, so that's the benefit of using nodemon. So now you can see that we installed validator. So now let's try to use validator. So it's very easy to use. So for example, first of all I'll be importing validator. So I'll just say const validator. Okay, for example I'm importing validator, so I've imported the validator package. Since you have already installed this, so it would be here, it would be here. Okay, so guys, one more important thing before using validator package, one more important thing, do not delete package.json at any cost, because it contains the memory what packages are required to run your backend. Okay, so it's very important to have the package.json. But accidentally if you delete node modules or if you delete package log.json, that's totally fine. Node modules contain all the packages, and package log.json actually contains some extra information which you don't need to worry about. Either you can delete this for now, later on it would be installed automatically. For example, in some cases, let me just delete this. So I deleted the node module. It would definitely, I think, take some time. So let me just press yes. Okay, so now you can see that it's deleted. So you can see in some cases when you download code from somewhere from GitHub, you would only have the package.json file and your other files. You won't be having node modules or package log.json. In those cases, what you actually do is you can simply come here. Suppose you downloaded some backend from from GitHub and it does not have those node modules folder or the package log file. Then what you have to do is you can simply come here, because you need to use this. Suppose if I don't have those file and I directly type nodemon, you can see I would get the error because I don't have the modules. I have the names here, I have the memory here, but I haven't installed them. So you have to install those things. Okay, so in some cases you won't have them installed when you download some other people's backend, so you have to install them. For that you can simply type npm I. So whenever you don't see the node modules folder, that means you now know that the package hasn't been installed. You have to install that package. So for that you simply need to type npm I or npm install, and it would install everything which is required. So everything which is required, that means these two things would be required and would be installed. So you can see automatically we have a file named as package log.json and node modules. Okay, so now I hope you understood the one more thing which is very important. Okay, a lot of people actually confused with this. So now you can see this is clear. Now after this, since we were using validator, so now let's say that we want to check that if something is an email or not. So let me just say that suppose we have virajj014 at the rate gmail.com. Suppose this was my email. So I'm just saying that just check that is it an email or not. Okay, so for that what I can do is I would simply say, for example, we have a variable let is email, and I'm just going to say validator dot is email, and let's say I'm just passing some email. Suppose I'm passing this email. So now I'm just saying that if it's email or not. If it's email, then I'm going to return true here, okay, or whatever it returns. So I'm just going to return dollar and then is email. So if it returns true, then I would get viraj@gmail.com true, else I would get false. Okay, so let me just try to run this. So you can see it runs, and now if I come here, you can see, if I reload, you can see true. This is giving me true. Okay, suppose if I just change this, okay, so I'll just remove this directly. So if I just change this to something else, okay, if I just remove the @ symbol, let's see what happens. So obviously you would get false. Okay, you would get false. So that's how things work here. Okay, so you can see validator is also downloaded, and now you can actually use this. So that's how you can actually use the packages which you install from separately from npm website. Okay, later on we'll be exploring more about these packages. We would be using them in some kind of logic, but for now I hope you understood how to install a package externally and use it in your own code. So guys, that's it for the npm part. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next one. Till then, see you, have a good day. Bye bye.